Hello and welcome back. My name's Miss Bridget and I'm a teacher and I'm here to teach you your letters and your letter sounds. Do you remember where we left off last time? Let's look. We were on P. Last time we were here. What comes after P? Q. Q comes after P. There's a capital Q and a lowercase q, and the Q sound is qu. Qu. That's the sound it makes. To make the sign language, you just do a little bit like we did for one of the letters. Remember, we did the letter G and it looked like we said a little bit, and all you do for Q, here it is do a little bit but turn it upside down. That's the sign language for the letter Q. And it says qu. Now, let's see what animal starts with the letter Q. Did you see the picture also on this? There's a queen. Queen starts with qu. Did you think of the animal that starts with the letter Q? Let me give you a clue. It's a bird and it has a forward-facing feather on top of its head. Can you guess what that is? It's a quail, and his name is Quincy. Quincy starts with a Q and quail starts with a Q. Let's do his cheer. First we make the sign language upside down. There we go. Q, qu, for Quincy Quail. Quiet queens and quarterbacks. They're the ones who throw the footballs. Questions, quilts, and quarreling. Quarreling is another word for fighting. Q, qu, for Quincy Quail. And that's just cheer. Now let's look in the big ABC book for things that start with the letter Q. There is not many. They put R on the same page because there was so few Q things. They only have 3 things. Let's peek. They have a queen. They have, let's see what else they have. They have a question mark and they have a quail. Those are the only 3 things they put in their book. There aren't that many words that start with a Q. That's why they have so few. Once again, quail, queen, and question mark. Those start with the qu sound. Now it's going to be tricky to think of 4 things that start with the letter Q when we only saw 3, but we had some in our cheer too, and maybe you can think of others. Let's see, I'll give you a hint of something I'm thinking about. She wears a crown on her head. She's not a king, she's a queen, right? So, what are we drawing on? We're drawing on a question mark. Look at that question mark. When you ask a question, at the end of the sentence, there's not a dot called a period. There's a question mark. That means you asked a question. And this is what the question mark looks like. So we're going to write on the question mark for Q things. Remember, we're going to write first. We're going to write queen. Queen starts with the letter Q. Okay, let's see if we can think of another thing. What is that bird that we're learning about? What's his name? Do you remember what kind of bird that is? It's a quail. Right. Quail starts with the letter Q. So we'll write quail on our question mark. Do you know what it means to be very, what is that called when you're not talking very loud? It's the opposite of loud. It's quiet. Quiet starts with a Q. We'll write quiet. Quiet is the opposite of loud. Let's do one more. This is a type of blanket with pieces of fabric sewn together. Do you know what that's called? A quilt. Let's write quilt. Quilt starts with the letter Q. So now we have some words that start with the letter Q. Now we can do some rainbow writing of our letter Q. Remember where we start? Right, we start on the red dot on both letters. This is the capital Q and this is the lowercase q. And we call it rainbow writing because we trace it several times with different colors. You can do it more than 3 times, but we're going to do it 3 times. What's our first color? That's a light green color. And we're going to start at the dot. And the Q is like a big circle around. And then it has a line that goes out of it. It looks like an O, but it has a line out of it also. And the small Q, you start at the red dot and you make a little hoop around, kind of like we did for the letter A, and we did this for the letter D. We've done it for a few letters. And then you start at the dot and you make a straight line down. And if we went this way, it would be a G. But we're going to make a hook. We're going to go backwards and make a little hook on that, and that makes it a Q. That's the letter Q. Do you know what this color is, It's a light blue. We're going to start at the dot. We're going to go around and make a big circle. And then we're going to make a little line sticking out. That makes it look like a Q. Then we go to the red dot and we make a little it's just a small little curve. It looks like the letter C, right? And then we go back to the dot and we make a straight line down. And then we go backwards. We don't go forwards, or that would be a G. And that's a Q. On this last one, let's say the letter sound as we write it. This is the color gray, right? So it goes Q, 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 Q. Now you can trace it many more times if you would like. We're going to just do 3 for our rainbow writing. Then we're going to turn it over and we're going to try and think of something that starts with a Q. I'm going to draw something that's money, and it's worth 25 pennies or 25 cents. Do you know what that is? What's worth 25 cents? A quarter. And once again, I'm going to make a big one. It's gray. Quarters are silver usually, but I'm doing mine gray. And I'm going to put a 2 and I'm going to put a 5 in the middle of it because it is 25 cents. That's how many pennies are in a quarter. And then I'm going to write the word quarter. You can have someone at home or at school do that for you. Quarter. We're going to write the word quarter so we know what we drew. Ooh, I'm going to run right into my quarter. Quarter. That's a big word. It ran right into my quarter. So that's our rainbow writing for today. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look in our preschool book called Children on Safari and find out some interesting facts about quail. These are things my preschoolers told me all about quail. Gwyneth said they have a feather that goes from their forehead and curves. Gianna said their beak is small and black. Emma said a mommy is more brown than the daddy. Joseph said they are brown with white stripes. They're mostly walking birds. Barrett said quail hatch from an egg. Knox said they have freckled eggs. That means they're very speckly. They have spots on them. Maddie says the mommy lays 6 to 17 eggs at a time. That's a lot of eggs. Matt said a group of eggs is called a clutch. Allie said the mommy lays eggs under a bush and protects it from other animals. Emma says a baby quail is called a chick. Lots of baby birds are called chicks, aren't they? Sunny says they can't fly very much. Gabby says a group of quail is called a covey. That's an interesting word, covey. Asher says they stay in a group to keep safe. And Sway said they are diurnal. They are awake during the day. That's what diurnal means, awake during the day. And here is a picture of a quail in its habitat. It's near a bush where they lay their eggs, and you can see its feather on the top of its head that points forward. They're pretty small birds. They don't fly a lot, they mostly walk, but they can fly to get away from danger. But they make their nests on the ground usually. And that's an interesting bird called a quail, and quail starts with Q. Now, I went around the house to find things that start with Q, and that was kind of tough because there aren't a lot of things that start with Q. So when you go around your house or school, keep in mind, don't get frustrated, that it might be tough to find things that start with a Q. You might need a little help with that. This is what I found. This one didn't fit into my bag. Do you know what this is called? This is a small blanket, and it's put together with little pieces of material, and they made teacups out of these pieces of material. And this blanket is called a quilt. And some people put quilts on their bed and they use them as blankets to stay warm. Quilt starts with Q. And that's an example of a Q word that I found in my house. This animal does not start with a Q, but the sound it makes does. Do you remember what sound it makes? Quack, right. Quack starts with Q. You can hear the qua sound. Quack, quack. That's the sound that duck makes. Duck is not Q. We know duck from the letter from before is a D sound. But the sound it makes, quack, is a Q. Okay, now I have a couple things in my bag that are very small. This is not a king. This is a queen. She has a crown on her head. Queen starts with Q. I found that in the play area in our preschool. And the last thing is money, and it's worth 25 cents. Do you remember what it is? I drew a picture of it. It's silver, remember? It's called a quarter. It's pretty small, though it is one of the bigger coins. It's bigger than a penny or a nickel or a dime. It's a quarter, and that starts with Q. So now we've looked at some things that start with the letter Q. Let's do our rhyme one more time before we're done for today. Remember, you do the little bit upside down, and that's the Q. And his name is Quincy. Quincy. And his cheer is Q, qua for Quincy Quail. Quiet queens and quarterbacks. Questions, quilts, and quarreling. Q, qua for Quincy Quail. Thanks for joining me. Next time, we will be off of the Q and on to the next letter. Do you know what comes next? Let's see. Q, R. R is next, and R makes the R sound. So try and think of an animal that makes you say R. There are a few of them. See if you can pick the one that we're going to be learning about next time. I look forward to seeing you next time. I hope you'll join me. I love teaching you, and I love sharing this time together. And I hope I see you when we learn all about the letter R. Until then, see you later. Bye.